Aries on October 24th. It's in Ashwini Nakshatra, related to the twin horses. It's opposite Libra, where we also have Mercury and Venus. So check it out. Okay, so we have a full moon in Aries coming up. Let me get the screen right. Okay, full moon in Aries on October 24th, and this full moon is going to be in the nakshatra of Ashwini. Okay, now Ashwini is the twin horses, and it's that first section of Aries, of course, using the sidereal zodiac, the zodiac of Indian astrology. And Aries is where the soul is taking birth, hits the ground running, especially, that first section is Ashwini, two horses, hit the ground running enthusiastically, charging forward. And Aries is the sign, it's ruled by Mars, it's the first sign of the zodiac, it's fiery, it's initiating, it's enthusiastic, and this is a full moon, which is opposite Libra, which holds the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. So as we see in the chart, the Sun, Mercury, and Venus is in Libra. Excuse me there. We can see that. And this Sun, Mercury, Venus in Libra shows a time of, compromise with others and with our, relationships and trying to get along with others. And, Mercury and Venus, also in Libra, bring about a lot of that energy. Now, the Sun there also has this quality of illumination, even though it's in its debilitated sign. It's lighting up that area of life. So we've been looking to compromise with others and looking to, get along with others and trying to see how far we can be extended. But the full moon in Aries says, okay, now I'm about my own individuality, asserting my own will, my own boundaries. So you may find yourself maybe even in a little bit of, potential maybe conflict or things like that if you're not careful. And, that conflict and enthusiasm perhaps is to reestablish and rebalance and reharmonize the scales. And this reharmonizing of the scales or of the, social equation is what Aries is all about. Now, this is a full moon. So again, it's more of an emotional kind of psychological thing because the Sun and those, planets down here are actually in Libra. So there's all that energy mainly in Libra. Of course, we also have Jupiter in Scorpio down near that section. So it's going to feel more like a emotional thing. So it could be like this emotional irritability or frustration could be coming out with the full moon in Aries, because you're still going to have to be honoring that interaction, that relationship with others, okay? Because the planets are still down here in Libra. So the full moons are a harmonizing, contrasting position where they contrast the energy of the opposite sign. So the opposite sign from Aries is Libra. And so psychologically and emotionally, you're going to be in contrast with that harmonization, with that, with that harmonizing and that compromise. So again, you might feel a bit at odds with situations where you're being called to hear another point of view or something like that. You might be a little more frustrated with that, of being, sort of tired of doing that, for lack of a better way to put it. That's what the full moons are about. They build up to a certain point of tension because you're like, okay, I've been trying, and now I don't feel like it anymore. And that polarizing, that sort of polarity of the issue, clarifies the opposite end. So it clarifies the Libra part of the axis. And so that's what it's about, that full moon in Aries. So you might feel some frustration building, especially around certain social interactions, certainly relationships perhaps. Now, again, the nakshatra is Ashwini. Of course, that's the first section of Aries. And again, like 99% of the Vedic astrologers in the world, I use sidereal zodiac, clearly states that Aries and Ashwini are that's where the zodiac begins. So, of course, very easy to recognize this as the beginning of Aries, that those two horses, galloping forward and moving forward with a lot of focus and force and energy. And that will be important. It's a light and swift nakshatra. That's what it's called, light and swift. And it's, it brings in a lot of, potential for change and swift transformation. And it's also good for things like sort of metaphysical healing and the energy moving through the body and the mind through prana and breath and all of that. So these are things that are, really beneficial on this full moon. So again, it's very good for yogic practices and releasing of built up frustration. And so that whole quality of, Aries, which can be excitable and frustrating and impatient, it can be exacerbated at the beginning of it with this Ashwini nakshatra, with these two horses kind of even somewhat chaotically moving forward. But if you can harness that sort of kinetic energy, there can be a lot of potential, power to really move you forward. Now, if you want to know how this will influence your sign, you can click the link below there and join my astrology training lab for only 50 cents for 2 weeks, and you'll see how this will influence your sign, because it's different for each of the 12 signs. This full moon will be in the 5th house if you're a Sagittarius person. If you're Gemini, it's your 11th house. If you're Leo, it's your 9th house. So that's completely different for each of the signs, and you can get daily forecasts and also know how this will influence your sign. Very important, because these are the cycles that we go through each month. These sort of 2-week cycles are what really influence us. It's the reason we have 12 months each year, because we have 12 lunation cycles each year, one revolution of the Earth around the sun. There are 12 lunation cycles from new moon to new moon during that time. So very powerful, and I'd love to have you, also get the daily forecasts where I, each day do a forecast based on the Indian calendar, because it's not only Ashwini, it's Aries, it's the Purnima, which is the full moon, but it also happens on, it actually happens on Wednesday, on early Wednesday morning, and all that stuff. So I hope you have a good full moon. I hope you're doing well now with this Sun in Libra, with Venus retrograde and Mercury, and we'll talk soon.